everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of Road Trip After Hours. I'm your host, Mac Davis, along with my co-host, the ever-popular Mr. Holla Famer, Teddy Long. Hey, Teddy.
I don't know where you got this ever-popular from.
Hey, look, I see you everywhere now. I mean, I know you don't get on to social media as much as I do when I'm going around looking for news. But you're on every news site has got something about Teddy Long going on. I mean, you're just everywhere. They pull information from our shows, and it's all over these magazines now.
I have no idea. I don't, cause like you say, I don't explore, and I don't know. I don't even know none of these other sites. You know, none of them. Oh,
you would be amazed. And Teddy, when I say hundreds, I mean hundreds. And you're out there everywhere. That's the funny thing. I mean, your face is everywhere right now, so that's pretty cool.
Well, that's good.
Last week we went over some names, and it was just kind of off the cuff. I was looking at names that Teddy had worked with, and they were world champions. As we started going through the list, we had a blast at the last show. We everything just kind of fell to the side, and we talked about these names, and you guys responded. You loved the show. We're going to give you more of that today. So we're going to go down some names. We do have some email to get to, but we are going to go down a list of names. And keep in mind, this is the second round of this. Actually went through 2 pages. 2 pages last time, and we still got 4 more pages to go. So we're not going to get to it all today, but we're going to get to a lot of them. We'll see how far we can get before we have to take a break. And so I'm going to shut up, and we're going to start right now. Teddy, you ready?
I'm ready, player.
All right, here are the names. This is kind of a name association. So we're going to pick up, and we're going to pick up with Paul White, the Giant. Any memories of working with him?
Yeah, I worked with Big Show when he first broke in. And I'll never forget this. I remember when I first went to WWE and I started refereeing, and I guess it was 98, 99. And I refereed a match with Big Show. And, you know, Big Show, back when he first broke in, he was pretty reckless.
Oh, yeah.
And he grabbed me and threw me so hard. I mean, just launched me as he was throwing me out of the ring. And it's a good thing, like I said, I always remembered. A lot of guys didn't know I remembered, but I grabbed that second rope on my way out, which broke my fall. Yeah. And it was so bad when I walked back through Gorilla, Vince called me over there and he said to me, he said, "Hey, don't you ever let Big Show or anybody else grab you and throw you like that." That's how bad it was.
Wow. I mean, how far? I mean, because I can imagine you're not a big guy at this time, Teddy. So, I mean, him picking you up.
I've never been a big guy. Well, when I first broke in, when I was eating all that bad food and drinking and drugs and having a great time.
I saw you with Ice Train in a video the other day. You're looking a little plump with Ice Train there.
Not a little. I was fat as fuck, okay? I was 250 pounds, okay? Don't sugarcoat it. See, that's what's wrong with people. When they sugarcoat stuff, then you ain't going to help yourself. You ain't going to try to lose the weight. Just say what you are, you know, let it out, you know, and I was a fat fuck. I was 250 pounds. I was bigger than the fucking guy I was managing.
It's funny because when I was watching the video, I forget a lot of times that you did have a period of time where you had weight on you. And so when I see that, it shocks me almost because it's like a totally different person out there. It's not Teddy Long. So
well, you got to take your health serious. You know what I mean? And so don't play around. And the thing with me, that picture with Ice Train, I got an 8x10 of that, and I got that hanging right at the back door. And every time I walk out my back door, I look at that and I say, I will never look like that again.
And it's a good motivator too, because I have something very similar in my bedroom that's the same way. It's a picture I hate, but I hate it for a good reason because it reminds me not to ever go back to that area again. So
exactly.
Right. All right, let's see the other names that come up. Now, this is going to be in WCW probably, and I'm trying to remember. I think you were there at this time. I'm not sure, though. Hulk Hogan, were you there when he came in?
Yeah.
How was it working with Hulk Hogan when he first came in?
Well, it was okay. I didn't have no problem with Hulk. Hogan and Kevin Sullivan were real good friends, and me and Kevin were good friends, and so that's kind of how I got to really, you know, meet Hogan and get okay with him because Kevin introduced me, and Kevin told him, you know, I was okay, and like I said, from then on, you know, I never had any problem with Hulk. He's always been respectful to me, spoke to me, and I remember the last time I saw him, you know, and this is some stuff that people don't really have to do. But the last time I saw him, we was at the Raw TV there, and he was with his girlfriend, or I guess maybe his wife now. I think they're married now, right?
Yes.
And he called me out of the blue right over, and he was telling her, say, hey, see him, me and him, we go way back. way back. And you know what I mean? And he know, and he knew I knew, you know what I mean? So just for him to do that, because that was something he didn't even have to do. He didn't even have to really speak to me. No. So I always pay attention to stuff. When people do things that I know that they don't have to do, then that lets me know it was real.
And if Hulk Hogan is not married yet, because I'm trying to remember if he's engaged or married, I'm not really sure. At the time of this, he may not be, but whatever. It's his personal.
Well, anyway, it was his girlfriend. If they're not married, I mean, he was with her and he introduced me to her. So
yeah. The other name, of course, that goes along with Hulk Hogan usually when you say his name is Randy Savage. Any memories of working with Savage?
I worked with Randy Savage when he was Randy Savage, before he was ever the Macho Man. Yep. We was in Atlanta, Georgia, at the old Georgia Championship Wrestling. Going to tell you a good story. Me, Randy Savage, and Dick Slater. A lot of people might remember him. Okay. Well, anyway, there's this area in Atlanta called the West End, and in the West End is where they sold the weed at. You could go there and guys are right on the street. You could buy nickel bags, dime bags. So Randy and Slater wanted some weed. So me living here, so I took them over to the West End. So when we get over to the West End, I meet the guy because I always go over there. So I called the guy and he come over and he jumped in the car. Okay. So Savage was in the Savage was in the front seat and Slater was in the back seat. So when we get in the car with the guy to buy the weed, the guy pulls out this big bag of cocaine and he says, "Hey, I ain't got just weed. I got this right here too." Okay. So the next thing I don't know because I'm not smart, but now I know. So I look at Savage. Savage, God rest his soul, he turns around and he looks at Slater and he nods his head, which means he gave Slater the office. That's what that meant. When he gave Slater the office, Slater hooked this guy right in the sleeper. Okay, in the shoot sleeper. Put in the sleep for real. They put him to sleep. And we took all of his shit, his cocaine, we took the weed, we took everything he had. That's a true story, brother. We did it in the West End, and they were staying at this old hotel back in the day. I can't remember what it was, but it was in Hateville, Georgia. And that's where all the boys stayed. But I'm telling you, that's a true story. We put this guy and left him in his car.
Well, you can never go back and do work with him again, could you?
Oh, I could never go back over to the West End.
No. Yeah. Wow, that's a great story there, Teddy. Wow.
That's the truth. And I happened to see Randy before he passed, and I happened to run into him, and I told him, I said, "You remember that time me and you?" And he had forgot about it. I brought it back to him, and oh, God, he wanted me to tell that to everybody. "Look, Julio, brother, tell them this, brother. Tell them what we did over there." Yeah. He wanted me to tell everybody that story, man.
Oh, that's hilarious. Him, Dirty Dick Slater, and Teddy Long.
Oh, yeah.
All right. The other name that we have on the list here, Teddy, is Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. I had a chance to work with Bill, another great guy, man. Another guy, too, that I might have mentioned this to you one other time before, that went out of his way to come and hug me and speak to me and, made me feel real good, because me and him worked a lot in WCW and never had a problem with it. Was always just as nice as he could be. And like I said, he's another guy that went out of his way to let me know, that, me and him were cool. So, I thank him for that.
Yeah. And it's funny how in wrestling, you can not see somebody for 10 years and run into them in your business, and all of a sudden it's like you just saw each other yesterday and you pick right back up and that friendship is always there. Not everybody. No,
because I have had some of them to walk by me and not say one word.
And you didn't give a shit anyhow, did you?
Act like they never saw me a day in their life. No, I could care less. In fact, I appreciate it. If you don't speak to me, that saves me some wind. That way I ain't got to speak to you.
The other name we have is Kevin Nash.
Oh, yeah. I worked with Kevin. Me and him was, all right. I wasn't never really close with Kevin, nothing like that. We didn't go out and eat there together. But as through passing, through working together, we always, had a great conversation. I see him on a lot of meet and greets, and we always laugh because we kind of got a little inside joke that we always know what's really happening with these guys. So we laugh about it. And
I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Kevin's a great guy.
See the next name, and keep in mind, guys, these are all world champions that Teddy has worked with in one way or another in the wrestling business, whether it be as a general manager, a manager, or even a referee. He's interacted with these names. All right, the next one we have is Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, DDP had a chance to work with him. Tell a good story about him. One time I was managing this kid named Joey Maggs, God rest his soul.
Jumping Joey Maggs.
So they had this party at DDP's house. You know, I think it was a Christmas party or something like that. But anyway, him and Eric Bischoff, they kind of stayed next door to each other. Yep. And so I met up with Joey Maggs over there. And so I went over to the party, and he just embarrassed the hell out of us. He taken all the gimmicks. He's so messed up on the gimmicks till he falls into DDP's Christmas tree, knocks all, brother. He embarrassed us to the gill. So that way I was so embarrassed. I never did go back to Dallas's house. I never did, because they had other things that they invited me to. I just never did go back. But DDP had a chance to work with him. You know, I never had no problem. He's always a nice guy.
And you talk about somebody that's into health and keeping himself young as long as he possibly can and keep him fluid. DDP is one of those guys, that's for sure.
Well, the thing with DDP, too, we have to also, you know, look at him, and thank him for the stuff that he's doing for the guys like Jake the Snake.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, trying to help these guys get back on their feet, get back, you know, to reality, you know, because a lot of guys had a lot of drug problems. They didn't survive. They didn't make it. And so for Dallas, and now, to me now, I don't know this, but I don't even really think DDP ever had a drug problem. I mean, I never heard of that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, you know, to me, a guy that had that problem would really be the guy to help those guys, because the guy that's had the problem understands that.
Yeah.
But with DDP not having that problem and still took the time out and to understand what a guy's going through, because he's been around it. So he's seen people. He knows. But
you know what it is, Teddy? I think that in the case with DDP and Jake the Snake, Scott Hall, Buff Bagwell, people like that, it's the respect level they have for DDP, and he's part of the business that they're in. So it's almost like he can understand a lot more than anybody else could when it comes to what they're going through, because he's been there and he knows. And maybe not using the drugs, but he knows the downfalls of the business.
That's what I say. He's been around people that have been involved in the drugs. He's seen guys messed up on pills and gimmicks and whatever. So he understands from that aspect. You know, you don't have to always be a dope head to help a dope head.
No. And really, DDP is one of the most inspirational probably wrestlers that we've had that've come out of WCW, especially, that has gone on and done just the majority of things that have helped so many people. So hats off to Diamond Dallas Page. The next name is Bret Hart.
I worked with Bret back in the day, not much in WWE until I started becoming general manager. Then me and Bret and Randy Orton, we did a lot of promos on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. So I worked with him more during that era, you know what I mean? But I've also, I've seen him now. Me and him, we do a lot of signings. I happen to be on some signings that Bret's on. And so the last signing that I was on in Jackson, Mississippi with Bret, and Bret, I think we got a lot closer than we've ever been, okay? Because I introduced Bret to something, and Bret said from then on to me, he said, "Teddy, I think we should ride together."
Can't imagine what you're talking about. Yeah, a lot of times I see Bret in a lot of social media and some pictures and stuff, and I see who the pictures are with a lot of times, and I'm like, oh, I know they're having fun. I can immediately look at the picture and go, they're having fun. So.
Oh, I love Bret, man. He's such a nice guy too, man. And like I said, he's another guy came up and said stuff to me that he didn't have to say. You know what I mean? Yep. So I always pay attention, man. So like I said, I know what's real and what's fake.
Next name we got three more that we'll have time for today, and that's Jeff Jarrett is the first one.
I worked with him in WWE for a while. I think I was a referee there when he had to drop the title to Chyna.
Yeah,
God rest her soul. And then I knew, Jeff. I saw him, through passing through WCW and stuff. But me and him, we were another guy. We never really hang out or drank or nothing together. But we just knew each other through passing and speaking. That's it. But as far as I know, great guy.
Did you ever work for his father?
No, I never. No. I thought about that after his father passed. I'm like, wow, there's another guy that I never did get a chance to meet or that I never did work for.
Yeah, and it's funny because you've met so many, but there are very few that you haven't, and that was one, huh?
Well, that I guess I wasn't really able to go to work any full time in Memphis. When I went to Memphis to work, it was with WCW or either WWE. So I never did get a chance to go in and work for Lawler or Jarrett. So that was probably why I didn't get a chance to meet him.
Was that something you would have enjoyed? You think you would have enjoyed going down and working in Memphis with Lawler and doing some of that crazy stuff they were doing?
Well, I don't know what I would enjoy it or not. I mean, I looked at wrestling as my job. So whatever I was asked to do, then that's what I do. But I learned on down the line that people will have you do something because they know you're green and you don't know, and they'll have you do some stupid stuff.
Yes.
So I had to find all that out too. So now I know what to do and what not to do. I'm gonna always remain business, but I'm not gonna go out and do something to make myself look stupid and it doesn't mean anything. If I'm going to look like an ass, then it better mean something. You know what I mean? It better draw some money, sell some tickets.
Ain't that the damn truth?
Yeah.
It's like shaving your head. We were talking about that on the show the other day on Sportskeeda. And look, if somebody wanted me to shave my head a long time ago before I did it myself, and I should have thought about that, getting my head shaved in a match, I just didn't. But that's the only time. And you're going to have to pay me extra if you want my head shaved. And they did in the old days, didn't they?
I'll tell you a story about that. Ole Anderson was the booker, okay? He now the biggest racist in the world. He had me to work with Paul Ellering in a match, and they had me to shave my head. I don't have no hair. I'm already bald on the top. Paul Ellering is the guy with the hair, so you know what I mean? But and that was the time that I booked. I wasn't going to do it. And the guy that made me talk to me was Jody Hamilton. God rest his soul. Jody pulled me to the side. And Jody kind of sit me down and talked to me, explained to me. He said, well, you know, he didn't say, he said, Ole, and so Jody calmed me down. And I said, okay, no problem. And so that's when I went on out and done that. But that really, because I knew that it wasn't right. He was just doing something just to make me look bad. He two bald head guys. So what is it? Come on.
Speaking of Jody Hamilton, I do want to mention at the time of this recording, we're recording on what is this? August 3rd, 2023. This has been now, I believe this is the day or within a week that we lost Jody Hamilton. Was it 2 years ago? How long was that now, Teddy? Do you remember?
Not right offhand, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either, but I know it was right around this time that we lost him. So, of course, Nick Patrick, our thoughts are with you. I know that it's never a great time to go through that period when you lose somebody that's as close as they were. And by the way, Nick, if you're watching the show, give us a call, email us, do something. We'd love to have you on the show because there's some things I got to ask you about in the wrestling world that I think a lot of fans would be curious to find out.
Well, you just should have let me know. I can call Nick at any time.
You tell Nick that I need him on the show soon.
All right.
I mean, he'd be a fun interview. Actually, I wish that there was a day I could get up there with just all three, sit in the same room and sit down and talk. But, doing it this way at the beginning would be great. And then maybe later on we can get down for a longer interview.
Yeah. Well, maybe you go down and, help promote one of his shows or something, and we could do the interview there.
Yeah, that'd be a great thing to do, actually.
Right. Yeah, I'll get a hold of Nick and I'll talk to him about it.
All right, let's see. We got, I forgot we got email to get to. All right, I'm going to give you two quick names. We've talked about one, so I'm not too worried about this one. Booker T. I know we talked about working with Booker T in the past and some of the stories about him and Sharmell and stuff. So I'm going to give you just one last one that we have for today, and that's Scott Steiner. Any memories of working with Scott Steiner?
Yeah, I love to work with Scott Steiner, man, because he's another for real guy. You know what I mean? And that's what I like, people that are real. And so me and him have always got along too. So he's in his own world sometime, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's Scott Steiner for you. But you just have to understand these guys, be around them for a while and you'll see things are not as bad as it look, So Scott Steiner, he's in it. He does his own thing. He's in his own world. So don't worry about him. He's just fine.
It's funny, when I was in the independents, he worked on a couple of different independent shows that I've worked in the past, and the guys were always scared to death when he got there. They didn't want to talk to him because they thought he was going to whip their ass just for looking at him wrong or something. And I always found that funny because one of the first times that I met him, he was actually extremely nice to me. He was very nice and polite, and I was like, whoa, hell, I didn't expect that. And everybody else kept thinking, oh, you know him. That's why. I mean, I've never met him.
He knows how to carry himself. You know what I mean? And so he knows a lot of those guys on that end, they ain't gonna do them to come up and worry the shit out of you.
Yeah.
If some of them will come up to you and ask you some stuff that means something, or ask you something to try to help them, but the majority of them will just come up asking you these nonsense questions. And God bless their heart. I mean, I love them to death, and I mean, I'll answer so much, and then I'll just tell them, "Come on, guys, and like I tell them too, they'll come up with ideas. I say, whenever you get an idea, always remember this: is this idea gonna draw any money? If it don't make sense, it don't make dollars. It's just that simple. So before you come up with an idea, think about, is this gonna sell tickets?"
Yep. Independent wrestling is a lot of fun. It's a lot different than the professional portion of professional wrestling on the higher level, but still a lot of fun to go to. And as Teddy had mentioned a minute ago, maybe we get Nick Patrick on soon. We can go to one of his shows up in North Georgia, which I've been watching and seeing some of his shows. I believe he had one just recently outdoors at a backyard barbecue area where they had incredible barbecue and great wrestling at the same time. That's never a bad combination, unless it's about 120 in Georgia. Then maybe it's a problem.
Well, hopefully, I don't think we'll have any problem getting Nick, because I rode with Nick Patrick for 5-6 years. Me and him were riding buddies, man. So, we still cool.
In fact, I'm going to bring his name up again in just a minute. I just thought of something, and we'll talk about that right after this break.
The International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame presents a night of living legends and legends lost. A night to honor the men and women of professional wrestling across the globe. Welcome to the Hall of Fame Gala, celebrating the class of 2023. Verne Gagne, Bret Hart, Bob Backlund, Keiji Muto, Gorgeous George, Kenta Kobashi, Tom Connors, June Byers, Dan McLeod, Dr. B.F. Roller, George Lurick, Mitsuhara Masawa, and Bert Asserati, with special awards to Joe DeFino, Dave LaGreca, and Christine Teeny Jarrett. Your host for the evening, legendary pro wrestling journalist Bill Apter, and host of the Wrestling Time Machine and Road Trip After Hours, Mac Davis. Welcome to the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame Gala, Class of 2023.
Welcome back to Road Trip After Hours. I'm your host, Mac Davis, along with WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long. And Teddy, it's time to reach into the mailbag. In today's mail, we only have one email that I can talk about today. So let me just bring that up. Let me grab, where does my note go? Here we go.
So we only had this one person to contact us?
No. It's her question's actually going to take up the rest of the show here.
Well, let's straighten that out. You're making us look like we got one viewer.
Oh, no. If I answered all the emails, we'd be in trouble and be here all day long.
Oh, I know.
All right, let's see. Shanice, and I hope I said that Shanice or Shanice, I believe is what it is, though, in Texas says, I thought you guys were going to share some AI stuff. Did I miss it? No.
Yeah, you did.
Actually, you didn't. Last week is when we were going to show some of that. And when we were going to do that, like I mentioned at the start of the show, we got off into these names and it just took over the show. So we didn't have time to get it in. But
I thought we did some of that when you did the Barbie stuff with me and you. And then we did the Snoop Dogg.
They haven't seen it, though. Some people don't keep up on that channel, so they haven't seen it on Road Trip yet. We haven't put it on here. So
what is wrong with you?
That's what we're going to do. I'm going to play you several of these AI creations that Teddy and I have been in, and they're hilarious. And there's some that Teddy hasn't seen yet, and I did that on purpose because I want to surprise him as well. So as we get out of here,
you can't make me any gayer than you've already done. So.
We were doing there's a hula, and you'll see this in a minute. There's a hula dance with Teddy and I, and Nick Patrick sent me a message, and it simply said, I can't unsee that. So enjoy the AI that we're about to give you, and we'll see you again on next week's show right here, same place, same time, wherever you happen to be on the same bad channel. I'm Mac Davis. That's WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and this has been Road Trip After Hours. Enjoy the AI.
Holla.
You're listening to Road Trip After Hours with my Moonwalking Brothers, Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and the Mac Daddy, Mac Davis. Holla.
You're listening to Road Trip After Hours on That Thing with Mac Davis and Teddy Long on the Thingy. The Starship Twinkie thing. Well, anyway, I've probably said too much.
I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. So good, so good. I got you. I feel nice. A sugar and spice. I feel nice. A sugar and spice. So nice.